And the Democrats have to find that guy.
They need a message, and then you find you find the messenger. No, but that's how it worked for Trump.
That's the worst thing. The Democrats always say, message, here a message. Yeah, first of all, they did, and they don't like it. Second of all, they don't give a shit.
Bill Maher is having a political awakening that's shocking liberals. His debate with Chris Cuomo reveals the divide growing on the left. One understands Trump's appeal, the other refuses to see it. When Maher told Democrats they need their own, Cuomo lost it. I'll break down why this matters for the future of American politics.
Just understanding that always lean in to being more who you are. The people are not savvy about issues, but they smell a phony a mile away. And that kind of shit, nobody else does it. You know, there's a couple of times when, I've been his biggest critic for good reason. And when he got reelected, I said, I'm not going to pre-hate anything. And then the first week I said, well, there's lots of things I hate because I do. Okay, there's some things I don't hate also, but the way he can do that and sometimes kind of make me go, oh man, I got to give it up. Like when he did that thing where the guy came in from the Taliban and he said, this is an aerial picture of your house. If during our withdrawal, one American is hurt, just know I know where you live. I was like, oh, can we just play the music now? Because I don't care. It's Donald Trump and he's the worst person ever, blah, blah, blah. I fucking love that. One time they were doing something was going on with, and he said, you know what? When you come after New York, you got to go through me. It's like, oh, hometown boy. You know, he has those moments that no other politician has. And the Democrats have to find that guy.
They need a message, and then you find you find the messenger. No, but that's how it worked for Trump.
That's the worst thing. The Democrats always say, message, here a message. Yeah, first of all, they did, and they don't like it. Second of all, they don't give a shit. It's not about the message. Trump changes his message from day to day. Tariffs everywhere. Tariffs nowhere.
Those are policy
It doesn't
decisions.
matter. But they don't care about policy. They don't understand it. His message is, I'm me, I'm strong, and I'm daddy. You know, they're on this daddy thing, you know, and people want a daddy. You know, Tucker Carlson, that whole thing, you've heard that thing about daddy came home and you need a spanking. And I'm like, this is getting a little weird, Mrs. Robinson. You know, daddy, but you know what? That's what works, and that's what people respond to. They don't know the issues. They don't know the facts. And they have no interest in learning about them. They're like an animal. They're instinctive. Like, I smell fear or I smell alpha. And they smell alpha. And Democrats have to come up with an alpha, and it's not Tim Walz.
No.
What's up, Patriots? Bill Maher absolutely schooling Chris Cuomo on what makes Donald Trump so effective and why the Democrats are completely lost. You know, folks, I never thought I'd see the day when Bill Maher would be the voice of reason on the left. For years, he's been a standard Hollywood liberal. But something interesting is happening. Bill Maher is having what I call a reality awakening. He's looking around at the woke left and saying, these people have lost their minds. In a recent episode of his Club Random podcast, Maher had Chris Cuomo as a guest, and he did something remarkable. He praised Donald Trump's authentic leadership style and told Democrats they need someone like Trump if they want to win. Can you imagine how that landed with Cuomo? About as well as a MAGA hat at an AOC rally. What's fascinating about Maher's evolution is that he's not changing his core beliefs. He still disagrees with Trump on policy, but he's honest enough to recognize what makes Trump effective as a leader. His authenticity, his straight talk, and his willingness to be himself regardless of what the political establishment thinks.
Probably not.
And it's not Tim, the other Tim who ran.
Kane?
Tim Kane. These are not alphas. It's like this thing of like, let's get a woman and then a docile man who's in every commercial where he's the asshole while mom takes care of business. You know, that's not a message that makes the tribe go, who is strong? Who's strong? Who's strong? Tim Walz. No. Oh, give me rock. I need to kill myself because Tim Walz. That you got to appeal to people at a sort of post-civilization stage where we're kind of at on a primal level. You just do. And Trump does it better than anybody.
Trump does. And he started with a rejection principle. What took him from being a joke to being a messenger was two things. One that was really missed in the media. And I was just fortunate to be covering the rallies, so I saw it sooner. We forgot how powerful celebrity is in the American psyche. And that Trump being a TV star, see, I never saw him as a TV star because I've just known him my whole life.
Not just a TV star, but one who played a boss.
Yes. And that apprentice is really everybody wanted to be him. Now, maybe not certain aspects of his personality, but the money, the power, the agency. So
let's break down what Maher was trying to explain to Cuomo, who clearly didn't want to hear it. Trump's greatest strength isn't his policies or his political experience. It's that he's genuine. When Trump speaks, love him or hate him, you know it's coming straight from him, not from some focus group or team of speechwriters. In a political landscape filled with candidates who test every word with polling data, before they say it, Trump stands out because he just says what he thinks. That authenticity resonates with voters in a profound way. People are sick of politicians who sound like they're reading from a script, who pivot away from questions, who never give a straight answer. When Trump threatened the Taliban leader by showing him an aerial view of his house saying, "If one American gets hurt during the withdrawal, I know where you live," that's the kind of moment no other politician would create. And as Maher admitted, even as someone who's been critical of Trump, he had to respect that move. The American people aren't looking for a politician who can recite talking points. They want someone who speaks to them like a human being, who isn't afraid to show strength, and who doesn't apologize for putting America first. Now, Chris Cuomo didn't want to hear this. He tried to argue it wasn't about being an alpha, but about being authentic versus liar. But here's where Cuomo misses the point entirely. Trump's authenticity is precisely what makes him powerful. And the Democrats have a serious authenticity. Deficit. Look at the parade of candidates they've been putting forward. Tim Walz, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris. Every one of them comes across as a carefully crafted political product. Their speeches sound like they've been written by a committee and approved by a legal team. Hell, they're afraid to speak honestly about issues because they might offend some part of their coalition. Meanwhile, Trump says what a huge portion of Americans are actually thinking. He doesn't care if it's polished or politically correct. And voters respond to that. Not because they agree with everything he says, but because they know he's not feeding them a line of focus group nonsense. One of the most revealing moments in the Maher-Cuomo exchange was when they discussed the assassination attempt on Trump. Maher pointed out how the left's response to that incident showed just how broken their thinking is when it comes to Trump. When Trump was shot at a rally with a bullet grazing his ear, some on the left actually suggested it was staged or fake. Think about that for a second. Their hatred of the man is so intense, their Trump derangement syndrome so severe, that they couldn't even acknowledge the reality of an assassination attempt without trying to spin it into some conspiracy theory.
They missed that. But when he really turned was, I know who you hate and I know what you hate because they all come to me and I hate them too. And I will make them pay. Yeah. The idea that Trump was ever selling himself as a cure is bullshit. He was selling himself as a virus. I will get into the political corpus and I will make it sick. And that is what sustains him, is that when the media comes after him for something, people are like, yeah, but you're kind of part of what I hate. And he's fighting what I hate. Oh yeah, but he's this and that. You know, that's what you say. But you're like that too. Everybody is. And the people who you like are like that too, but you're only going after him.
I totally understand their hate. A lot of what they hate, I hate too.
Yeah, I get it.
But I just won't go, but I also have a rational mind.
Yes.
So I don't go all the way to then this is, because it is worse to me.
Right.
What, if you don't really believe in the secession of power, if you don't really believe in the emergency of climate change, I can't get on board with you. But yeah, the political instincts, the connection with
Yep.
people. I mean, people are always saying, I'm saying, it's my editorial this Friday about Republicans being North Korean with their leader. But why? The reason why that they're so afraid of him is that they know he has a connection. If you're a congressman.
As Maher pointed out, Trump's response to being shot, getting up, pumping his fist, and continuing his rally while bleeding was an incredibly powerful moment. It showed courage and resilience. Any other politician would have been whisked away, and we wouldn't have seen them for weeks. But Trump turned a potentially tragic moment into a demonstration of strength. And what was the left's response? Maybe it's fake. That's not just disrespectful, it's delusional. And it shows exactly why the Democrats keep failing to understand Trump's appeal. Here's something else Maher understands that Cuomo can't seem to grasp. Trump has a connection with voters that other politicians simply don't have. Republican lawmakers know this, which is why they're so careful not to cross him. They understand that Trump speaks directly to their constituents in a way they can't match. Democrats are still stuck in this mindset that politics is primarily about policy positions and messaging. They think if they can just find the right combination of words, the perfect slogan, they can win back voters. But Trump's success isn't about messaging, it's about connection. When Trump speaks at a rally, people don't just hear him, they feel heard by him. That's a crucial difference. He validates their concerns, frustrations, and aspirations in a way that makes them feel seen and respected. Meanwhile, the Democrats talk down to voters, telling them what they should care about instead of listening to what they actually care about. They lecture rather than connect. They preach rather than relate. And then they wonder why they're losing voters. Now, I'm not saying I want the Democrats to find their own Trump. As a conservative, I'm quite happy watching them continue to nominate uninspiring candidates who lecture the American people. But Maher is right. If they want to be competitive, they need to find someone who can speak authentically and connect with voters on a gut level. The problem is, the Democratic Party has become so captured by elite coastal interests and academic theories that they've lost the ability to speak plainly to ordinary Americans. They're so worried about using the precisely correct terminology and checking all the ideological boxes that they can't just have a normal conversation anymore. Trump cuts through all that. He speaks in simple, direct terms about issues people care about: jobs, security, pride in America. He doesn't couch everything in academic jargon or worry about whether his language is problematic. He just talks to people like people. And that's why, despite everything the media and political establishment have thrown at him, Trump not only survived but thrived and won in 2024. It's not just about policies or even partisanship. It's about having a leader who feels real in an era of artificial politicians. Let me talk more about the assassination attempt, because it reveals so much about the state of our politics. When Trump was shot at, his immediate reaction, getting up, pumping his fist, shouting, "Fight!" That wasn't just a political moment, that was a defining American moment. It showed resilience, courage, and determination in the face of violence. Any other politician would have been whisked away by security. They would have released a carefully worded statement written by their communications team. We wouldn't have seen them for days or weeks. But Trump stood his ground. And how did many in the media respond? With skepticism, conspiracy theories, and in some cases disappointment that the attempt wasn't successful. Think about what that says about where we are as a country. We've reached a point where political hatred is so strong that some people can't even put it aside when a former president is almost assassinated. What's even more disturbing is how some commentators and social media personalities actually mocked the innocent attendees who were hurt or killed. These weren't political operatives. They were ordinary Americans attending a political rally, exercising their constitutional rights. And because they supported Trump, some on the left treated their suffering as a joke. That reaction tells you everything you need to know about why Trump connects with so many Americans. When the elite media and political class show such contempt for ordinary citizens, is it any wonder those citizens turn to someone who at least pretends to respect them? This struggle between authenticity and political correctness isn't just playing out in politics, it's a broader culture war. And Bill Maher, interestingly enough, finds himself increasingly on the anti-woke side of that war.
A senator, he has a connection with my voters
Yes.
that I do not have.
Nope. He will beat you.
I do not have that
He
connection.
will primary you, and more often than not, you will lose.
You know,
And that's if all you're about is keeping power. That's all you need to be kept in check.
so that's why every Republican is like, you're the alpha that like animals do.
The inflection moment for me, and this was like probably, I don't know, right now is a little bit of a competition with how the Democrats are handling this. But when I heard people on TV suggest that he hadn't been shot at and that the bullet didn't hit him.
Oh, I did that bit in my special.
And
it's so ridiculous.
It was so, I was like, wow, they've really lost the fucking plot. This guy just got shot in the head. I called him. I was so embarrassed by how he handled it.
He did not get shot in the head, Chris. He got nicked in the ear.
Listen, if it was your ear, you'd say, I got shot in the head.
He did not get shot in the head. If he had, this country would probably be in a civil war right now.
I know. Thank God it didn't happen.
Thank God.
But I got to tell you, if it's me and that bullet grazes my ear.
Oh, I agree.
You hear the full story of someone tried to kill me, and you'd never see me again because I would have never continued running. That was way too close. That guy gets up, pumps his fist, bleeding down the side of his head, and the Democrats say maybe it's fake. That's when I think they really lost the plot.
Theory.
Maher, who's been a liberal his entire career, is now regularly calling out the excesses of progressive ideology. He's criticizing cancel culture, identity politics, and the tendency of the left to police language and thought. And he's doing it not because he's becoming conservative, but because he believes these trends are harming liberalism itself. This is what Cuomo and many on the left don't understand. Criticizing woke ideology isn't necessarily a right-wing position. There are plenty of traditional liberals who are alarmed by the direction that movement has taken. They believe in equality and fairness, but they reject the obsession with identity and the constant language policing. Trump tapped into this backlash against political correctness long before most politicians realized it was happening. He recognized that many Americans, including some who don't consider themselves conservative, are fed up with feeling like they have to walk on eggshells in every conversation. So where do we go from here? As conservatives, our path is clear. We need to continue speaking authentically to the American people about the issues that matter to them. We need to stand firm against the excesses of woke ideology, and we need to support leaders who aren't afraid to be themselves, even when the media and political establishment attack them for it. For the Democrats, the path is more complicated. They're caught between their base, which is increasingly captured by progressive ideology, and the broader American electorate, which is far more moderate. If they continue down the path of ideological purity and elite messaging, they'll keep losing elections. If they try to find their own version of Trump, someone authentic and willing to buck the party orthodoxy, they risk alienating their activist base. It's a dilemma I'm perfectly happy for them to struggle with. But it's also a warning to us on the right. We should never take our connection with voters for granted. We should never become so captured by ideology that we forget to speak to people where they are, in language they understand, about issues they care about. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to give Bill Maher credit where it's due. Despite our political differences, he's showing intellectual honesty by acknowledging Trump's strengths and the Democrats' weaknesses. That kind of honesty is rare in our polarized political environment. Chris. Cuomo, on the other hand, represents the denial that still grips much of the political and media establishment. They still can't accept that their approach isn't working. They still can't understand why Trump connects with voters in a way they don't. And until they figure that out, they'll keep losing. For us conservatives, there's a lesson here too. The power of authenticity is real. People respond to leaders who speak honestly and directly. We should never sacrifice that authenticity for political expediency or establishment approval. Donald Trump changed American politics not because of his policies, but because of his approach. He shattered the norms of political communication and showed that voters are hungry for leaders who speak to them like human beings, not political abstractions. Whether you love Trump or hate him, that lesson is one every politician should learn. And it's one that Bill Maher, surprisingly enough, seems to understand better than most of his fellow liberals. That's it for today's episode, Patriots. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Check out our merchandise at blackcoffeepodcast.com and join us next week for another strong brew of political commentary. God bless you, and God bless America. This has been the Black Coffee. podcast, where we brew the strongest takes. Follow us on all social media platforms, order our Black Coffee Pod, and visit our website for exclusive content and merchandise. See you next time, Patriots.